All right, so today we're diving into a topic that a lot of us have heard of, but maybe don't fully grasp just how serious it can be. We're talking about pneumonia. And this isn't just some bad cough we're discussing. We're looking at a pretty formidable, unseen invader that can be a major threat to our health. So let's get into it.
Let's just get this out of the way right up front. The source material makes it crystal clear: pneumonia is a major cause of death from infection across the globe. This is so much more than just a complication from the flu. For a lot of people, it becomes a literal life-or-death battle happening inside their own bodies.
So, to really understand how to fight something, you first have to know what it is, right? We need to define the enemy. What exactly is pneumonia? And what is actually going on when it gets a foothold inside our lungs? Okay, so here's the textbook definition. At its heart, pneumonia is a lung infection. But, the most important part of that whole sentence is the last three words: in a susceptible person. And that's absolutely crucial, because it tells us it's not just about bumping into a germ. It's about that germ finding the perfect opportunity, a little crack in our defenses, to sneak in and start its attack.
So who are these susceptible people? Well, the data is pretty clear. It's often the most vulnerable among us. Think about it. The immune systems of little kids are still under construction, while the defenses in adults over 65 are starting to slow down. And things like smoking, that literally paralyzes the tiny little hairs in our lungs that are supposed to sweep out all the gunk. It's like rolling out a welcome mat for an infection. All right, now let's zoom way in. Let's take a look at what this battle really looks like on a microscopic level. What actually happens when those nasty germs get past our body's security guards?
You can basically think of it as a four-stage invasion. First, the bug gets in and starts multiplying like crazy. Second, your body launches a counterattack, which causes a lot of inflammation. But here's where the real problem starts. That immune response leads to all this fluid and debris, this gunk, flooding the tiny delicate air sacs in your lungs. And when those sacs, called alveoli, are filled with fluid, they just can't do their job. They can't trade carbon dioxide for fresh oxygen. You are literally being forced to fight for every single breath.
But here's something you really need to know. Pneumonia is kind of an umbrella term. It covers a bunch of different types of infections. And believe me, where you get it and what causes it makes a huge, huge difference.
So you've got two main categories here based on where you picked it up. Community-acquired pneumonia, or CAP, that's the one most of us think of. You catch it just going about your daily life. But hospital-acquired pneumonia, or HAP, well, that's a completely different beast. It pops up when someone is already in the hospital for something else, and the germs causing it are often way more aggressive and, this is the scary part, way more resistant to our antibiotics. And the cause isn't always bacteria. I mean, sure, bacteria are the most common culprit, but viruses are a huge player here too. And that's why antibiotics are not some magic cure-all. You can also get it from fungi or from something called aspiration, which is basically when you accidentally breathe food or liquid into your lungs. And sometimes the invader isn't even a living thing, which brings us to a pretty wild and scary real-world example.
So let's talk about a case study from the source material. Picture this. We've got an 86-year-old man. Let's call him Mr. Smith. It's late. He can't sleep, so he decides, hey, I'll do some cleaning. A totally normal, harmless decision, right? Well, it almost cost him his life.
The problem was what he used to clean. He mixed bleach and ammonia, two super common household cleaners. And in doing that, he accidentally created toxic chlorine gas. Just by breathing in those fumes, he gave himself severe chemical burns all through his lungs. This is called chemical pneumonia, and it's a powerful and terrifying reminder that the invader doesn't always have to be a microbe.
Okay, so this brings us to the really practical stuff. How do you know? How does your body actually signal to you that this intense internal battle is going on? What are the warning signs you need to look out for?
These are the classic red flags. A high fever, the kind that gives you the shakes and chills. Pain in your chest, feeling out of breath, and just a deep, draining fatigue. A really big sign is a productive cough. And that just means you're coughing up phlegm, mucus, and it might even have a weird color. All of these are your body screaming that an infection is taking over.
The source material puts this warning in all caps, and for a very, very good reason. It's a critical alert, because for one group in particular, the warning signs can be dangerously quiet.
And please, listen to this, because it could literally save someone's life. For an older person, pneumonia might not show up with a big fever or a nasty cough.
Instead, the first and sometimes the only sign can be a sudden change in their mental state. We're talking about new confusion or just being extremely out of it and sluggish. This is a direct result of their brain not getting enough oxygen, and it has to be treated as a medical emergency. Full stop.
Okay, so we've defined the enemy, we know its tactics, and we know the warning signs. Let's move on to the most empowering part. How do we build up our defenses, and how do we fight back?
Think of this as your personal defense strategy. Number 1, get vaccinated. The flu, COVID, and pneumococcal vaccines are your absolute first line of defense. Simple hand washing is incredibly powerful. And here's one that might surprise you: regular oral care. Yep, brushing your teeth. A cleaner mouth means fewer nasty bacteria that could accidentally get inhaled down into your lungs. And for anyone on bed rest, just the simple act of coughing and taking deep breaths can make a world of difference.
Now, what if you do get sick? Well, treatment is all about targeting the specific cause. For bacterial pneumonia, doctors will hit it with antibiotics. But if it's viral, like we talked about earlier, antibiotics are completely useless. In that case, the best medicine is just good old-fashioned supportive care. Lots of rest, plenty of fluids, and just letting your amazing immune system do its job.
So I want to leave you with this question. We spend so much of our lives protecting ourselves from threats we can see, right? We lock our doors, we wear our seatbelts. But understanding a threat like pneumonia really shows that some of the biggest battles we'll ever face are fought on the inside. So are we paying enough attention to those unseen invaders that can slip right past our defenses? It's something to think about.